Today we're going to be talking about one of the worst weapons in Helldivers, and one of my absolute favorite weapons as of recently. So today we're going to be taking a look at the Airburst Missile Launcher. This is a very recent weapon that was added not too long ago into Helldivers. This is a new special stratagem, or a new weapon stratagem. So the Airburst Missile Launcher is very similar to something like the recoilless rifle or the spear, where this is an explosive weapon that you can call down, you can load it up, and then you have a backpack that you can also wear with this that has multiple shots on it. Just like those weapons, you can team reload this if you would like, although I've never seen anybody actually team reload the Airburst Missile Launcher. I've seen it with the recoilless rifle, and I've kind of seen it with the spear as well as the autocannon, and I don't think that this weapon is one of the best to be doing that with, but you can if you want. The way the Airburst Missile Launcher works is you fire out one shot. Once this shot has come close enough to enemies, it will detonate. This will then send out a bunch of little bomblets that come raining down and just explode all over the place around where this was fired. The explosion radius varies quite a bit, it seems like, especially depending on how high up you shot this and how far the bomblets need to fall. So sometimes this can be even more friendly fire than it already kind of inherently is by default from having all the bomblets. As for the stats of the Airburst Missile Launcher, this one does between low and very high damage. This is totally dependent on what you're shooting, how many things you're shooting, and how lucky you are with those bomblets. So there can be huge amounts of variation between every single shot. This weapon does only hold one shot, as you would kind of expect. However, you do have a backpack that holds 5 of these, so you get 6 shots in total, which is pretty cool. The rate of fire on this thing is inherently pretty low, especially if you're reloading it yourself. If you're reloading it with a teammate that's reloading it from the backpack, that's going to be a lot faster, just like the recoilless rifle, just like the autocannon, and just like the spear. The armor penetration on this, I think, is either light or medium. It's definitely not heavy. This doesn't do very well against heavy enemies. However, it does do decently well against medium and light enemies. This one is available, I think, at level 15. Honestly, I unlocked it and forgot what level it was, and I haven't been able to find it online as to what level this unlocks. It's in between the heavy machine gun and the railgun, so that's between 12 and 20, so that's why I'm assuming 15, although I think the Quasar cannon is 18. And that one might have been lower than that, so somewhere between 12 and 18 is where I would suspect, so that's why I'm betting on 15. This one costs you 8,000 credits in order to unlock, which is kind of high. I mean, you will be unlocking it. It's one of the last weapons to unlock. I think the only other weapons above this are like the railgun, the spear, and maybe the Quasar cannon. I could be wrong about the Quasar. I actually don't remember where it falls in. This has the same call-in time as basically all the stratagems, or all the weapon stratagems, at 480 seconds or 8 minutes. Meaning that you can't call it in super frequently, but luckily you can reload this pretty often because anytime that you pick up an ammo box or a resupply, you do get more ammo to your backpack, so you can reload this. This weapon is an explosive weapon, and this weapon can close bug tunnels and can shut down bot factories. However, it's kind of dangerous to be doing that. You do need enough room in order to fire this down there, but it can collapse them, because a lot of the time once you do shoot this into one of those areas and it collapses, you'll still have the bomblets coming out after you, or after anything that's in the area, and if you're standing too close, you can potentially blow yourself up with this. This weapon also really can't kill big enemies. It does very poor against large enemies most of the time. If you're hitting the weak spots, technically it can actually do something and sometimes do decently well, but it's not going to be very consistent at killing chargers, titans, tanks, or hulks like the big enemies. This is much more focused on just breaking up crowds and killing crowds of small enemies, and for that it can actually do quite well. So for the pros of this weapon, it is extremely fun. This is undoubtedly one of the funnest weapon stratagems in the game. I absolutely love this thing. It is a spectacle to look at. It is super fun. It's also pretty good at CC. It's really good at clearing up crowds. So if you just see crowds of a bunch of small bugs or a bunch of small bots or medium bugs or medium bots, you fire this into them and you can kill a really good portion of them, or at least weaken a lot of them so your teammates can clean them up after that. For the cons though, there is a lot of cons for this weapon. It is a friendly fire machine. It is really easy to kill yourself and kill teammates with this because the bomblets are pretty erratic and can go all over the place. They were even worse before because the targeting used to also target any living anything. So this was also other fellow Helldivers, so if you shot this next to a teammate, it would blow up almost immediately. If you shot this next to a turret, it would also detonate immediately. There are still some problems like that, like you can hit the shield backpack on somebody's back. That's pretty rough too, so yeah, the friendly fire is pretty crazy with it. You do kind of have to be careful with it. Wearing heavy armor with explosion resistance is really nice for this weapon, because even if it does come back and hit you, it's probably not going to kill you then, especially with the changes that they've made to heavy armor recently, where you can at least tank through some extra shots, so that's nice. Next major con is you have no backpack. Since this takes up your backpack slot, that means that you can't have a backpack. So no shield generator, no ballistic shield, no guard dog, anything like that. No supply backpack. So if you like running a backpack, this one might be a deal breaker for you. This weapon can't kill Titans very well. You can hurt them, but not really. So it's not really a big bug or a big bot killer. That's kind of rough. And this also has a very slow reload if you're reloading it by yourself. If you have a team reload, then it's much quicker, but this is one of the slower weapons, especially since something recently like the recoil rifle got, I'm assuming this is a bug, but to where you can reload cancel it to reload it quicker, which is kind of nice. I kind of wish this weapon could also do that, but it can't right now. The weapon loadout that I like to take with this, for my primary weapon, I've been liking the Diligence Counter Sniper ever since it got buffed. It's pretty nice with this, especially since this will be good for killing crowds, and then that can be good for picking off single targets. Most of the shotguns and assault rifles are really good for this, though. Those are really good as primary weapons. Really, any primary can work. Same with any secondary, works fairly well with these. Just take a secondary that complements your primary weapon, and you should be good to go. Then take the Airbursters as your special weapon, and that also takes up your backpack slot. For a stratagem loadout, though, I would recommend that you build towards killing big enemies, because the Airbursters are not going to be that thing. They are not good at killing the big bugs. They're not really good at killing the big bots, so anything that can help you kill them is really good. So for the first two stratagems, I like taking one that is an orbital, so go with the laser or go with the orbital rail cannon. They're both really good for knocking out big enemies. Then on top of that, I'll take something that is an airstrike. That way I can be calling these in. So like the 110 rockets or the 500 kilogram bomb. Those are really nice for taking out big enemies or taking out buildings. Any of those work really well, or any combination of those work really well. Just depends on what you want. After that, I'll take something like EATs because they're just super useful to have, and you can constantly call them down. Teammates can use them, and they can at least knock out big things like Chargers, Titans, buildings, whatever you need it to be. And then for my last one, really anything works. You could, again, double back and go with like the laser if you've already went with the rail cannon, or you could go with the rockets if you've already went with the 500 kilogram bomb, or you could go with something like a turret. EMS turret can be pretty useful, or like the shield generator can be really useful on bot missions. Really, any of the turrets, autocannon turret's another really good one, so if you want to take that, you absolutely can. And that is usually the way that I like taking the Airburster missiles. These ones are super duper fun, but they are absolutely one of the worst weapons in Helldivers. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with a weapon being terrible, or just not having that much use, but being super fun to use. I don't really mind that at all, especially in a game like this where most things are pretty viable. It just depends on your team comp, what else you're bringing, and how you can kind of make up for those weaknesses. On my tier list, I would put the Airburst missiles honestly into like B tier against Terminids. Main reason why is that they're really good at clearing up crowds, and you're generally fighting crowds, so it is pretty nice for just knocking out a crowd before it even knows that you're there. I can't put it any higher than that, though, because it doesn't knock out Chargers and it doesn't knock out Titans. For bot missions, I'm going to put this one D tier. I think this is one of the worst stratagems for bot missions. It is really bad. It can clear up small bots just fine. It can do okay against medium bots, but usually doesn't kill them, and it does almost nothing towards large bots, so I really wouldn't recommend taking it on those missions. Either way, a super fun weapon. Tell me your thoughts on the Airburst Missile Launcher down in the comments below. I hope we get more stratagems like this that are just stupid and fun. I really enjoy that. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye, everybody.